Yo, what is going on, traders? So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I backtest and optimize the PFK Alpha Expert Advisor on multiple different assets to find settings that might perform very well when running them on challenge accounts, funding accounts, personal accounts, whatever it is you want to do. So I'm going to show you what that process looks like so you can do it yourself rather than just fully relying on the preset input settings I offer right here on the dashboard for the VIP members. So I highly recommend that you mess around with it, and then you can also mess around with different assets as well, because the fundamentals of the PFK Alpha strategy can work on any asset whatsoever. So that's the beautiful thing about the strategy, and then you can optimize it so it's dialed in for that asset. So let's get into that. I'm gonna hide my camera here so I don't hide vital information on the display of my dashboard, and I am gone. So the very first thing we want to do is I generally backtest on Alpari. Alpari is a broker with very stable data for Forex. As you know, whatever broker you're using can have a very wide variance in data. So results may vary depending on which broker you backtest on. Alpari is very stable. I like them a lot. So you can get your own account by just right-clicking accounts and open an account, search up Alpari, and boom, you have yourself a $100,000 demo or whatever balance size that you want. Okay, so once you have that set up, you're logged into it. Now we can kind of go to the backtester. Now, if you don't know where that is, you can go up to the top here, and it's strategy tester. So you just click on strategy tester, it'll pop up here. What I like to do is right click this bar here, and we can go to floating. Now we have a full screen to backtest on. Okay, a couple things before we even look at the settings. There is something you can use in MT5 which is very useful. It's the server for MT5. It's MQL5 Cloud, and they allow you to use your own processors to backtest on, so you're not, sending your machine or your computer into overdrive, especially if you're on a laptop or something. It's just not very effective. This is about 100 to 1,000 times faster than most computers, so you can get your own balance. It's not very expensive. I can backtest for hours for like $15. I mean, it's really, really minimal for what you're getting. To get that, you can just like click on this. Oops, let me just do that. To get that, you can just click on this and MLQ5 service top up in the top right there, and just buy like $100 or whatever, and you're good for a long time. So let's start by going to the settings tab at the very bottom here. You see this right here? I'll click on that. Now this is where you're going to make sure you're running the right date range that you want and the right asset. So here I have gold, XAUSD, or we could do EUR USD, right? Make sure that's clicked. Oops, let me do that again. EUR USD, right? So if you want to do EUR USD, pick that. I'm going to do XAU as the example today. The date range here, there's no wrong answers. If you do a 3-month test, you're going to have better recency for the current market conditions to trade in. I kind of like 1 year the most because the entry model is a little bit more robust. You kind of get to go through the full 12-month cycle of the market and make sure that whatever settings you run have been profitable over the last 12 months. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be profitable for the next 12 months, but it gives you a lot better chance to be profitable, right? So in this case, I'm going to go September 16th to September 16th. That's going to be a 1-year backtest. Okay, forward testing, we won't worry about that yet. That's a little bit of a different game. But what I like to use here is I like to use, what's this? I'll do no latency here, and then modeling here, I always set it to 1 minute OHLC. If you do every tick, the processing data goes way up. And this strategy is not a scalping strategy, so you really don't need to watch every single tick in the backtest data. 1 minute is definitely okay to use when you're backtesting this strategy. So that using every tick would be more for like scalping strategies that you're testing. $100,000 account here. That I will use the leverage 1 to 100 is good. And then I like to use the fast genetic based algorithm to backtest, because that will just take like 5 million potential plus combinations depending on what inputs you're testing, and it will kind of look for patterns in profit and push the algorithm in the direction to find the best results possible. And for this one here, I generally do custom criteria max. It's going to be a nice balance between minimal drawdown and profit. Okay, so that's what it's going to look for. So those are the settings that I use when I'm optimizing and backtesting. So yeah, take a look at that, screenshot that if you want, and let's move on to the next step. So then we go down to inputs at the bottom here, going down to inputs. Now, the only thing I want to do right away is make sure my account balance right here is set to 100,000. By default, it's 100,000, so you should be fine unless you've been messing around with it. But yeah, by default, it's 100,000. Now, let me explain something here. So the basic entry model for the PFK Alpha EA is the 9 and the 20 EMA on the 1 hour for a bias, and then the entry is the 9 and the 20 EMA on the 5 minute. When those EMAs cross over, that's the entry. So it looks like this on the 1 hour. If we're bullish here, right, we're bullish. So our bias is going to be looking for longs, or sorry, this is the 5 minute. On the 1 hour here, right here, we're bullish. And then we go down to the 5 minute, and then we have a crossover right here. So this would be a long signal, and it was a beautiful long signal right there. And then, the risk settings are going to be different, but that's the basics of the entry model. Now, I'll show you something really interesting. If we just leave it completely basic, no other optimizations, we're just following those two principles, I will show you the results here. So I'll start that up. Oops, sorry, let me just cancel that. I have to turn this off. So I'll start that. Then we go to the graph here. So these are the results. Now, I know it looks a bit chaotic, and that's okay, but we have profit after a full year of trades, which is a really good sign for any strategy. And not only profit is outperforming alpha by quite a bit. Alpha would be about 10, 11%, right? It's outperforming the stock market on average over the course of the last year. That's a good sign. Not to say that this is a great strategy, because it is a little volatile, but this is a great starting point, because if we look at the backtest results, you see we have 591 trades over the last 12-month cycle, which is a good sample size. Now, what we can do is we understand that the base principles of the strategy is profitable. And guys, like, this would not perform too bad at all in prop firm challenges. If you started here, especially, and caught this run over 9 months or so, you would kill it. Okay, so expectations don't have to be crazy high to milk prop firms. And unfortunately, if we didn't have this crazy losing streak here, it would have been incredibly good on the year. This was a little bit unlucky. The markets were ranging really tight, I remember, but I remember because my accounts were struggling quite a bit during this phase of my life here, but that's okay. That's part of the game. So what we can do is we can say, okay, well, this strategy has potential. Let's see if we can optimize it and make it better. We have a lot of trades here. What happens if we filter out a lot of these losing trades somehow? Can we find a way to only take more winning trades and less losing trades? And that's kind of the idea of optimizations. Filter out the losing trades and keep the winning trades, right? So let's go to the inputs. The inputs are all the settings here. Now, in order to mess around with these different settings to find a good backtest optimization, I want to turn this thing on. And then when this is on for fast genetic based algorithm, we can see that now we're able to kind of select these boxes here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do for optimizations, I'll keep the standard settings, the 1 hour 920, the 5 minute 920. We can mess around with those later if we want, but we'll keep the basic principles of the strategy itself. Okay, because if you select everything, it's just going to be way too chaotic, and it's going to be too, look what happens if I select absolutely everything, right? We can see that, and we have like well over, I don't know, is that 165 billion? Let's see the bottom right here, 165 billion different potential combinations, and I haven't even got the rest of this stuff. So that's going to be too many options for the algorithm. Not to say that it can't find something, but it's just not so effective when you just don't give it any direction and let it roam free. So we'll just uncheck all that. Now, here's something really interesting. I just want to show you this real quick. So you see the graph here? You see how choppy that is? Look what happens when all I do is turn on this VWAP filter. So the VWAP is something we added because we realized that when we take longs above the VWAP and only longs above the VWAP, and we only take shorts when it's below the VWAP, guys, the VWAP is such a OP indicator. I'm serious. Like, apply it to your trading, manual trading, any trading. Always have it on your chart, no matter what period, for any asset. So what happens if we turn this on? Always turn that on. One small change. We're only taking longs above the VWAP, only taking shorts below. Okay, let's just run that and see what happens. So I just have to turn this off again. Okay, let's run that. And look at this, right? We've eliminated a lot of those crazy losing streaks, right? Remember this one up here? We kind of avoided a lot of those losses, and we're actually at like plus 12% higher profit than the previous test. So just filtering one thing like that has already made such a difference, right? So let's keep going. So we'll turn this thing back on. And now what we're going to do is, the first thing I want to test out is, okay, so see these inputs here, high opposing look back candles. Basically what this does is it'll avoid a trade if we have a EMA crossover X candles back. And the reason I say X candles back is because right now it's set to 0, but we can test it between 1 and 10 candles back. And the way you do that is you set this to 1, set this to 10, right? Or you could set it to 11, or you could set it to 12. If you set it to 12, you'll see over here the steps. It's going to have 12 steps because it's going to test every single potential combination. So if there's 12 options, you'll see a 12 there, right? So let's just keep it at 10. And then increments of 1. If I wanted, you want to keep this at 1 usually, but if you wanted to test, in increments of 2, you can do that and it'll cut the steps in half. But this is better for this input if you set it to 1. So we can do high opposing look back candle, and then the crossover candle, same thing. If the EMA has crossed over in the last X amount of candles, then it won't take the trade. It's going to avoid taking the trade, right? So for example, if right here, if we go to the 1 hour chart, you see how there's a crossover right here, Well, if I had that input setting set to 3, it will wait 3 candles before it even thinks about taking a trade. And the reason why we have that in there is because we're trying to avoid ranging conditions, right? Because this input performs well when price is trending really strong like this on the 1 hour, right? But it doesn't do so well when it's chopping around like this on the 1 hour. So we're trying to avoid horizontal market conditions, and it has been trending very nicely. But like for example, right here, we want to avoid it here. This is just not going to end well. So when it's tight and ranging, that's what we're trying to avoid with these filters. So we can turn on those filters, and we added the same thing in for the 5-minute chart, just because it would also be nice to avoid ranging conditions on the 5-minute, because usually when it's ranging on the 5-minute, we don't know if it's going to go up or down. We want some kind of trending momentum or price action to be actually moving, instead of just taking a coin flip going long or short when it's ranging. So I'll turn those three on. As you can see, 10, 10, and 10. So right now there's 1,000 different combinations. See the bottom right there? There's 1,000 different combinations. Okay, and then I'm gonna turn on this VWAP filter. So we know the VWAP already works better, so I would just recommend leaving that on. You don't even need to test it true or false. You can just leave it on. We know we want to use it. We only want to take longs when price goes above in this situation. And then the VWAP weight bar for this input, what will happen is if price signals long, but the VWAP, the price action is currently below the VWAP, it will wait X candles to cross over. And if it crosses over within, on the lower time frame, within 3 candles, for example, let's just say this is set to 3, it will enter if it crosses over within that 3 candle time period. So it kind of gives some forgiveness. It'll trigger that, okay, it wants to go long, but it's going to see if price can cross on the right side of that VWAP first. So it's a very interesting input to have and very effective, extremely effective. So we can set this to 10 as well if we really want to, right? So now we have all these options. Well, I'll set it to 9 because I want to have 10 options to keep it even Steven. There we go. So you can see now we have 10, 10, and 10. Now it's good. All these combinations to run together, we have potentially 10,000 different combinations, okay? So that's kind of a good place to start optimizing like that. So we'll optimize in a second. I'll show you what that looks like. But then we can go down and we can take a look at the take profit and stop loss. Now, what I recommend doing is I wouldn't optimize these things, okay? I think like if you're looking for a strategy that's a 1.5R, you set the stop loss to 1, which is equal to the value of the 1 hour ATR, and you can set your take profit to 1.5, which is equal to the value of 1.5 1 hour ATR. So now you have a 1.5 risk to reward model that you're running. I would highly recommend on every asset, leave this at 1 hour, okay? Unless you're looking for a swing trade setup, set it to 4 hours. If you're looking for a much more aggressive strategy, more aggressive risk, you can set that to 30 minutes. You can, but then you have to realize that the tighter your stop losses in terms of dollars, then the larger the lot sizes you're going to need to cover that trade. And then you can start to have issues with lot sizes and prop firms and leverage and all that stuff. So I think 1 hour is a nice middle ground. I preach this all the time. 1 hour ATR is what you want to do for your risk when you're setting your stop loss to match the 1 hour ATR. So we can just leave that there. So we're looking at a 1.5R strategy. We're going to optimize this. The risk per trade, I always default at 1%. It's just a good base point to backtest on. You can always change it to 1.5 later when you're running it on your account, or if you want to go even super high risk, you go 2%, or if you want to be very conservative, you go 0.5%, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It won't affect the win rate or anything like that. It just affects the risk on your account. So I always set that to 1 just to backtest. We leave all this false. We don't need this right now. This is just for live trading where you would cap your daily max loss. There's no point to really backtest with that. You can if you really want to, but I don't like to do it. This one here, max open positions. Well, first of all, maximum trades per day, I leave it at unlimited. Like it's not going to shut down after it's taken like 3 trades. I don't even know why this is on here at the moment, I guess, but max open positions. Oh, sorry. I do know why it's on here because it's more for when you're forward testing or when you're trading it on a prop firm. Let's say you only want to take 3 trades per day max, you just set that to 3. But when it's at 0, it's going to take unlimited. And because we're backtesting, we just want to see every potential trade, so we don't want to use that. Max open positions, this is something I leave at 1 when I'm backtesting. You can set it to whatever. You can set it to 100. That way you have 100 open positions at a time. But I feel like it's more realistic when you only have 1 open position at a time to see the results of how it would feel in real time. So I like to leave that at 1. We have other settings here like break even. You can mess around with that. You can see if we go to the let me go to the dashboard, we can see that some set files that I've saved here, like for example this one on NASDAQ, I have break even enabled. Same with this one here, Victor on USD JPY, we have break even enabled. I do backtest for break even for those that like break even. I personally don't use break even in my trading, but that's because my risk tolerance is quite high. I tend to prefer to just take a trade and let it hit my TP or my stop loss. I hate it when a trade hits break even and then it hits the TP. That is the worst for me. I'm like, I should have stayed in the trade. I don't care. I would rather lose the trade than have that feeling of hitting my break even and then going to take profit. I hate that so much. So that's why I don't use it. But if you want a more conservative approach, then break even can be a great play for you. It depends on how you feel about risk tolerance. Here's something interesting. So the trade window, I just want to explain real quick. First of all, we're going to fix this GMT offset so it auto detects whatever broker that you have it attached to. But when you're backtesting, you do have to match it to the market watch data, right? And the way you do that is you can go into our help channel on the Discord, and we have this really nice offset GMT offset tool here. So you click on that, and all you do is type in the time here that you see on the broker window. So you can see that's 19:29. Market's closed right now, so you have to do it when the market's open. But I know that El Pari is always a 3 GMT offset at the moment until some daylight saving times screw everything up. But yeah. And then so the start hour is going to be 0 would be market reset. So 5 p.m. Eastern when the market closes technically. And then 1 would be when it reopens, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so that's a good way to think about it. Hour 1 is 6 p.m. Eastern time when the market opens. It's that simple. So you can do your math based everything off of that, right? So what I like to do here is I always like to have it set to 2 or 3. We'll just set it to 3. You can optimize the start hour if you want. But I'd rather just start it at like hour 3, give the market a few hours to open up. There's no volatility usually before that anyway, so it's kind of pointless to force a trade when you can just avoid that trading window. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that at 3. A couple other filters we'll look at after we optimize. We can always use these RSI and ADX filters. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the news filters we don't have to worry about when we're backtesting. That's more for when you're trading it live on your challenge or whatever account you're trading it on. Okay. And then these enabled the target limits. Keep that false as well when you're backtesting. Okay. This is for when you are trading a live account, like a prop firm challenge. And let's say I pass my challenge. If I achieve 10% balance on my account, well, I would set that to 110,000, right? So 110,000. Well, that's not 110,000. This would be 110,000. But yeah, then the EA is not going to trade anymore once you hit that target there. Okay, so now that we have kind of gone through all of that, let's start to optimize. So once again, we have to make sure we're on fast-based algorithm. And we can just click on start and just make sure if you're going to use the MQL5 agents that it's selected, right? You want to make sure that it is, you right click it and make sure it's checked. Okay, I would turn off local agents and local network. That's just going to use your computer and you're going to hear the fan go crazy. I even have a pretty good computer and I hate using it because it sounds like it's going to explode. But yeah, so that's how you do it, like that. And then we just go back to here and then we go press start. Okay, so I'm going to start that up. So it's going to be testing the 1 year. You see this green bar at the bottom here. Right now, there's potential 10,000 different combinations, but it's going to look for the best ones out of those 10,000 naturally. So we'll see how that goes. And you can also see like these green dots. These are all the different results popping up. So it did about 1,100 different potential results. And as you can see here, I can organize it by profit, right? So we can see we have this one here with 406 trades and a 72% profit now. So you remember the original was, well, after we added the VWAP, it was about 37%, but now we're getting optimization results for 72%. So what I do is I double click that, right? And then it's going to show me, sorry, it's loading a bit. Yeah. Now this is the optimized result. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Now, obviously it's been chopping around for the last 3 months because gold was ranging pretty hard, but we can see we eliminated a lot of potential losses just from those few filters. So if we go to the inputs, we can kind of see what's changed. We've added a 5. It's automatically going to populate the whatever you clicked on in the optimization results. It's going to populate that in the input. So you can see now that it added 5 wait time for the high opposing crossover candles and a 5, and then for low opposing 6, right? And then it's waiting 5 bars to see if the price action can cross above or below the VWAP. Okay. And that's the only things we optimized. And it actually gave us a lot of profit, right? Now, if you wanted to do that, like if you like those settings, all you would have to do is go back to here, right click and press save. And then you just save the settings, right? Save the settings and you name it whatever you want. And then you can take that set file and you can load it up into your PFK Alpha EA, the one that you have attached to your account. It's that simple, right? But before you do that, always make sure that you activate the things you need to activate that are not relevant to the backtest, such as the risk management, the daily loss limit. Make sure the news is activated. The news filter is very important to have, and all that other stuff. Okay, so now that we did that, we can actually go a little bit more crazy with optimizations. Now, as I said before, the base model was 1 hour and 5 minutes, right? But what if we wanted to test something else out? What if we thought, well, maybe if I do like a 3 minute higher time frame bias with a 3 minute lower time frame entry, that could be interesting. So let's go back. We go back to the fast genetic based algorithm. And then, so I set this to 3 and 30. Now I could check this here and you can see we could have a range. I could test the higher time frame bias, 15 minute to 1 hour, right? And that's going to add 3 steps. For the lower time frame, I could test the 2 minute to the 5 minute. We could do that, but I would recommend just kind of hard setting this just because it's going to give it too many options. But what we could do is we could also check these EMAs, right? We could check the EMAs. Now for the EMAs, because this is going to make your entry model unique if you do this, because this changes the timing and the whole way that the EA will enter the market. Because if we're taking trades based off of different EMA crossovers, well, your trades are going to be completely unique to anyone else's by far. Okay, so one quick note here, you see the steps, right? So what I normally do when I'm optimizing the EMAs is I will set the high fast EMA to 6 to 14. The problem is you don't want to go like 1 to 100. Okay, that's too much data once again. So 6 to 14 is nice for the fast EMA, and 18 to 34 I feel is a nice range for the slow EMA. So it's going to test all those different EMAs. You can go more. I would recommend I could set this to 16. Let's just do that. Whatever. We'll set. I'll keep it at 14. I don't like having 14 and this one too close, because the problem is if they're too close, if this was 17 and this was 18, well then think about that. How often does the 17 and 18 crisscross with each other, because they're almost the same length, right? So you have to be considerate of that. So take a look at this one. Mimic me when you're backtesting any asset, and yeah, you take it from there. So I selected that. Same thing for the slow EMAs, and then I'm going to keep these checked as well. And now you can see we're getting way higher in potential combinations. Now we have a whole bunch more different combinations that we can run. Now let's just say instead of a 1.5R, I want to go to a 1 to 2. So I'm just going to do, okay, let's see if we can find a nice 2R strategy on the 30 minute and the 3 minute time frame, which should be a bit more aggressive, right? There should be more potential trade setups. So we'll do that, and everything else will keep the same. Let's run that and see how it looks. Okay, so we'll start that up, and you can see at the bottom here, it's running, it's going to find 10,000 different results, but as you can see, was that 23 million or 2.3 billion? I'm not sure, but it's a lot. So we'll let that run. And then we can go to optimization results as it's running, and you can see, it'll keep populating stuff. And then we can look at the green dots. You see how it's kind of like it's starting to find some profitable strategies, and now the algorithm's like searching in the direction of the profitable strategy. So that's why you see more and more green as time goes on. And that's the algorithm just optimizing what's working for the settings that we've given it, the range of settings. So super interesting. It's really nice. This is actually a little slow. I'm not sure why. It usually be done by now. I'm not sure if I did anything wrong. No, it's just slow. Maybe their servers are slow. This is typically way faster though. I'm not sure why. I guess we're just going to be hanging out, me and you, for a while, watching this green bar load. We'll just give it a minute, and then we'll take a look. Okay, it's done. It didn't even bother looking for more combinations. It felt like it found the best. So here's an interesting thing, right? We have the top profit of 85,000, but look, there's 11% drawdown. That's a little bit high. So typically I like to look for the highest profit with minimal drawdown. So this one here is looking great for me, 467 trades. I'll double click that and we'll look at the graph there. So this is the graph of that strategy. Now it looks pretty clean. Obviously this run here is God tier, right? And then obviously we had some choppy conditions, but this isn't even that bad considering the market conditions recently. So minimal damage, but you take advantage of those trending market conditions when they happen, which is all we can ask for. So we can also look at the backtest results. There were 467 trades. A lot of other interesting data you can consider here too. Like look at the days of the week. Which day is the best? Look, Wednesday for some reason never works out that great, right? But every other day of the week is profitable. You can also see other stuff here. You can see the drawdown, 6% up here. Total net profit, 85%. Down here is a really interesting stat I like to see. It's average position holding time, 3 hours, 27 minutes. Okay, so you're gonna have trades that last 30 minutes. You're gonna have trades that last 7 hours. It all depends on if price pops off or not, right? I've been in trades 18 hours before because price is literally just staying within a $5 range, bouncing back and forth. So that's not something you can control. But yeah, that's just something to be aware of, that the average trend is 3 hours, 27 minutes, which is really reasonable for a day trade. That's what I like to see. If this was like 5 minutes, I'd be like, okay, something's wrong, right? I don't want to have a whole bunch of average trades of 5 minutes long. I'm not scalping, right? We don't want to scalp with these Forex prop firms. We're going to get smoked if we do that for so many different reasons. So yeah, that's how I would optimize the EMAs, right? Now you have your own extremely unique entry model. No one else is going to be running it. If the prop firm reaches out and asks you, hey, what's your strategy? You can say, oh yeah, I just take a trade when the 14 and 32 EMA crossover and the bias is bullish on the higher time frame. That's it. So easy, right? That's what I like to do. Get over it. So that's a great thing to have in your arsenal, your own unique settings. Obviously, you can use everything that I do. I have, if we wanted to go to gold, you can look through all my inputs. I try to diversify the risk as much as I can. I have 1 to 2 Rs. I have 1.5 Rs. I have 1 to 1 Rs. I have break even. I have 1 to 2 Rs with break even. I have other ones with different trading windows. This one starts at hour 6, so it starts late in the Asian session, right? This one here starts at just before London session. This one starts New York session, right? So lots of really interesting things. And on that note, I'll go back to here. If let's say you want to only trade New York session, right? So this is how we could do that. So let's go back to fast generic algorithm. Okay, we'll leave everything else the same that we were optimizing before, but we can hard set the start time to hour number 15. 15 is going to be 8 a.m. Eastern. Okay, off the top of my head, I know that. So we are trading the New York session only. And then we can give it a range. Okay, well, we could start trading in the New York session, and we could go from hour 15 to hour, let's say, 18. Okay, just to see how it would go. So now we have a time window to only trade in and see if we can find some good optimization results like that. And then just for the giggles, let's try a 15-minute and a 1-minute entry point. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. It might be a disaster. I'm doing it here for the first time with you guys as well. And that's the beautiful thing about optimization. You can see if something is profitable or not, right? If there is something profitable, the algorithm will find it as long as you give it all of the proper stable settings to test it on, okay? Which is exactly why we built this thing. Okay, so as you can see, we have like 9 billion something combinations. Let's run that 1 year backtest. Well, you know what? Since we've been struggling over the last 3 months here, let's do a 3-month backtest. Let's do that. So if I set this thing to 2025, June 16th, 2025 to September 16th, 2025, that's a 3-month backtest, okay? So now we can see, hey, in the last 3 months, can we find anything that's been profitable? Let's find out. So we'll start that up. Be running that. And we're just gonna hang out. What are you guys doing this weekend? It's Saturday for me. I went golfing this morning. Something wrong with my swing on the driver. I don't know what it is. Can't figure it out. Cannot figure it out. I think it might be something with my brain. Something might be wrong with my brain. My brain to body. So this is almost done here. Okay, so once this is done, there we go. So now we can look at these optimization results. I can sort it by profit, and this does not look too bad, right? So we can see we have 100 trades in 3 months, which is respectable. That's over 1 trade a day. It's like probably close to 1.5 trades per day. That is valid. If you're getting below 1 trade per day, then that might be a bit conservative for prop firms. Maybe better for a funded account, but not a challenge. For a challenge, I'd recommend looking for something between around 1.5 trades per day. So I double clicked on that. Let's look at the equity curve. So this is the last 3 months. It looks super solid, barely any drawdown. And if we look at the input settings, we can see that it is starting hour 15. Okay, so right when the New York session opens. And we can see it's using the 7 and the 18 EMA for the higher time frame bias. It's using the 10 and the 20 for the entry model in the 1 minute, which is great, right? That's fine. I would be very alarmed if this was like 19. If it was like 19 and 20, then you know it's like crisscrossing like crazy. But 10 and 20, very reasonable. And then you can see it's waiting 8 candles, so it won't take the trade if it's crossed within the last 8 candles. If the EMA is crossed on the 1 minute in the last 8 candles, it will not take the trade. So it's quite high. But that's good because it's 1 minute, right? So it's not a big deal if it doesn't take the trade. It'll find another one that's in better shape. The VWAP, it's just waiting 1, which is really cool because it's basically saying, okay, well, if price isn't above the VWAP when the signal goes off, we're not even taking the trade. And this is a 1 to 2 risk to reward, right? So that's really interesting. Now, we could run this one more time here. We could even go something like 1 to 3 if we wanted. So let's go 1 to 3 and let's use this break even feature. And by the way, remember, if you like those settings, then you just save it here, right? I should save those settings. It does look pretty good, actually. Maybe I will save them. Hey, hold on. I'll save them real quick. And then maybe I'll post it on the dashboard. So let's save this. We call this one Mateo. Mateo, 3 month, XAU USD, 2R. Right, I like to name these things like with what the settings are, right? And then I would go like 15 minute, 1 minute, type like that. Then I know, right? So that's a pretty good XAU, USD. There we go. So that's how I would save it. So boom, that's saved, and now I have that set file if I want to try it out, right? So what was I gonna do? I was gonna do something. Oh yeah, I was gonna try doing. Let's do like a 1 to 3 risk to reward, okay? And then we'll go back to a full 1 year test, right? Because 3 month is good, but I think it's better like while I'm live with you just to show you 1 year. So we'll go September 16th, 1 year ago, and we go back to here. Now I want to test out the break even feature. Let me explain it to you. So we can set this to true. Okay. Now the break even trigger, we have to set this to this right here, the buffer, don't worry about that. That just means it's setting the break even to slightly in the profit once it triggers, just so it shows as a win instead of a loss. It helps because some prop firms like to see, more profitable days or more profitable trades than a bunch of losing trades and then one winning trade. So this would count as a win if it hits the break even, but a small win, and it could add up over time too. So for this break even trigger, what this means is it's going to use the 1 hour ATR that we have set right here. Okay, the stop loss is 1 hour ATR. So when price goes 1 ATR into the profit, boom, that's going to trigger the break even price. Okay, so you know what? Let's do it. Let's just set that to 1 to 2 risk to reward. And then once the price goes 1 ATR into the profit, it will set the stop loss to break even. So it's either going to hit break even or the 2R, one of the two options. Okay, so we'll set that to break even. That's true. Now we can optimize with a break even, and I'll take this off here because we're just going to leave it at hour 15. We know that's going to be the best start. Now we're going to optimize all these settings on the 15 minute and the 1 minute, and we are going to have break even. So let's run that and see what we can find. It might be a disaster. It might be great. We're about to find out. I'm just going to let this little green bar load. And I'm not going to edit this out. I'm not going to edit this video at all. This is a raw video. So you guys have to wait here and watch this green bar with me slowly fill up until we can look at the results. You're welcome. I hate editing. So I will do raw videos as much as I possibly can. That is just who I am. You signed up for this. It's on you. All right, so we'll give this a little bit of time here. We can look at the ADX after. Actually, let me just explain the ADX and the RSI filters. We don't necessarily have to test with it. ADX, I will say, is top tier. This is a great filter to have, especially when you have situations where you're getting 2-3 trades on average per day, hundreds of trades, and your drawdown might be quite high. You can actually activate this to true, and then take a look at the range that I have here. This is the range that I use, so I would use this 1 hour to 2 hour. I don't like going lower. I just don't feel like ADX is effective on the lower time frames, right? This is more for like higher time frame market conditions. So basically, ADX measures how strong an asset is trending. So the lower the number, and by the way, I don't really use this one. I just use minimum, okay? So the lower the number, the more it's ranging. The higher the number, the more it's trending. So if the ADX, let me show you on this thing, I'll pull it up, right? ADX. All right, so let's go here. Let's go to the 1 hour chart, right? This is really interesting to know. So I just want to show you because it's super relevant to understanding everything. Okay, so I'm going to zoom way out here. You can see it's like wavy, right? Oh man, price has just been pumping. So you see how it's wavy like this? Well, the lower the wave, you see down here, it's like 14. Well, that means the market was ranging. So if we look at, let's mark that out on the chart. So let's mark out one of these spots here. So a low spot would be like right here. Okay, boom. Okay, so here it's been ranging there to there. Mark it there to there. Sure. Okay, so if we zoom in on the 1 hour chart here, look at the price action. Like you wouldn't want to trade in that at all. It's just chopping back and forth. You're going to get whipped out of your stop loss over and over again. So if you have the 1 hour ADX set to like only taking trades like 15 and above, you're going to avoid most of these market conditions. Okay, so that's the beautiful thing about ADX, right? So if we go back to here, this is the range that I like to have it set in. You can actually set this to 20, might be more reasonable maybe, like 12 to 20. Okay, so when you're testing the ADX, 1 to 2 hours, 12 to 20, anywhere in there, and those are the only two you can optimize that you should optimize in right there. You could add this like a 30-minute if you wanted to test that out and see, but sometimes if you give it too much freedom, it's going to filter out too many trades. So these are the ranges that I like. So take a look at that and consider that. Okay, so let's take a look at these optimized results here. Oh, this looks nice. This isn't too bad. Not quite as good as the non break even. Understandably, right? Because you probably leave some losing trades on the table as well as winning trades. But 63%. Let's take a look. Double click that, and we can look at the graph, and you can see it's a very nice equity curve. I mean, we had a little bit of a hard time at the beginning, but look what it like. Remember the other one, guys? The last 3 months was like ranging. The break even features really made this thing have a positive equity curve during the last 3-4 months, where the other one was struggling quite a bit. So that's something really interesting. This looks very, very stable to me. I really like this one. And we can see 383 trades, which is about, there's 250 trading days in a year. So that's about 1.5 per day. The average trade time is 2 hours, so a little bit shorter, which makes sense because, you know, break even would shorten the average trade life. And yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm actually going to save this. I'm going to save this as well. So we'll save this setting, save. So this is going to be, we'll name this one Cowboy, XAUUSD. Oh, actually I have to do 1 year. XAUUSD, and then 2R, New York. Oh yeah, this was New York actually. That's really good. Break even. Right, there we go. So I'm saving that. And that now I have the step file. I'll upload this one. I'll upload Cowboy for you guys. That one looks great because like I'm thinking like, oh, for 63 wasn't as good, right? I wasn't thinking 63% wasn't as good, but I just remembered that it's only taking trades during New York, which is wild. So what happens if we run these same settings, but we run it just starting London session? Let's try that real quick. And then I'll probably wrap it up after that because I've been rambling for 45 minutes now, but this is one of my favorite things to do, guys. So that's why I could just talk about it for hours and hours. This is like the part of trading that nobody realizes how powerful it is. Like using MT5 to backtest a solid, robust strategy like the PFK Alpha is a game changer. And not only that, we're doing it with the open range breakout strategy. We're working on that now, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. So what was I going to do here? Yes, the start time. So the start time, so I know that hour 10, well, I think hour 9 is kind of like just before London opens. So we'll start at hour 9. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. Let me go to fast generic algorithm and just have to make sure I uncheck these just because it would be pointless. It's already set to false. And let's see, we have 22.3 billion or whatever. Let's see how that goes. So we'll run that and we will wait and see. Where's my green bar? Did I break something? I didn't break something, but the green bar is not working. Why? Okay, let's stop and try again. Okay, well, maybe that's the universe telling me I should let you guys go, but it was going to be the same thing anyway. I imagine it would have found more trades. I'm not sure why it isn't working. I probably have to restart the MT5, but I don't want to do that while I'm live because that's going to be a whole process. So that's fine. We will leave it at that, guys. I hope that's helpful. Remember, if you want any help, VIP chat's always open. If you're not in VIP yet, 7-day trial. I'll show you real quick. propfromkid.com. Right, 7-day free trial. You come in, you have access to the EA right away. We have these beautiful setup tutorials in the VIP Discord. We have, if you haven't watched this yet, the EA setup guide, the risk settings that I talk about, how you manually want to set up your own risk. And then we also have the inputs dashboard that I go over, which is this one right here, right? And we're always making it better. We're always trying to get a better experience for all you members as well. So appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.